Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tuesday Night Mindset, Mental Health, and Mindfulness with me, Coach Nick. And this week, bam, the man, Steven Nhan. Welcome, Steven. Thanks for joining us, man.
Hi, Nick. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be on. So
I am too. I'm really excited to have you. And for people that didn't know, I've been trying to get Steven on now for this is what the second time I asked you. I'm lucky that you said yes this time, but I asked you far enough out. I think it gave you enough time, but it's exciting. I'm glad to have you on. I'm glad to get into this because Tuesday nights are something that's special to me. Okay. I've had a couple people on, and you really kind of started the Fit Club movement in Australia. Am I correct?
yeah. So first things first, I just do want to I do want to acknowledge Nick, and I was just saying to Nick backstage that like I love his commitment in doing this. Like I don't judge people by what they say. I judge them by what they do, and I see him on this consistently every single week, sacrificing his family. So I love what you do, Nick. I really want to acknowledge you for being consistent because, I love that. Anyways, makes me even more on. So being interviewed by Nick, but yeah. So like the Fit Club movement was. I wouldn't want to. I don't want to say it was just started by me, but like a group of us. We had an idea that we wanted to go out there and find a way to help impact people on a different level. So. A group of us, decided that this was something that would pilot, and so that's how it started in Australia a couple of years ago. So
okay, and you really got into it, and it really does change the whole way that everyone look at it, because really when everyone looks at getting healthy, they think I need to go on a diet or I'll go to the gym. Or I'll get a personal trainer and they'll tell me everything I need to know, or I'll get a coach. And we have some amazing coaches in here. Sandra Bartlett as one, is amazing and do some amazing things with people. But you kind of decided that there's more to it, right? And there's 5 elements to it, right? You mind going through those and how those you feel those kind of affect, or have an impact on someone's healthy, active lifestyle?
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to give a bit of a backstory about how my journey got started, Nick, and how?
Absolutely, please. Yes, yeah. Actually, why don't you do that? Why don't you tell first? Let's talk about the backstory. How did you get into this? Okay, and then I'll kind of remind us as I'll keep my notes together. How did the 5 elements after?
Yeah, sure. And so we'll give the audience some context of like how the 5 elements is relevant, or how it could, something for them to think about. So originally I've always, my journey actually started when, I've always been into like health and fitness. I worked out for like most people. At a very young age, I was always, I graduated from university. with a marketing degree. I was very driven. I came from a very good family, very good upbringing, and but my journey really got started when I actually got involved. My background was I was never involved in the health or fitness industry. I was passionate about working out and taking care of myself to some extent. But the turning point for me wasn't really when, I took over the family business, and we had my background was, we ran a seafood we got a seafood wholesaling business. That's my background. And prior to that, actually, going back a couple of years before that, I was very lucky. I had some early success in my life, and it can be a problem for you, but it's, sometimes that becomes your worst enemy at the same time, So I took over the family business, and I had earlier success in doing a few other things, getting involved in different ventures. And I became very successful at a very young age. And to be honest with you, my dad is very traditional, works really hard. He didn't really like that I had small wins at a very young age, Well, not small wins, but I was able to, from the bedroom of my, from home, I started a business, and I turned over $1 million at, after graduating from university. So it was, in my world, it was mega success, Anyways, long story short, I took over our family business because my dad wanted to grow it from just being a van and him doing deliveries to one day being able to grow the company to become a larger family business and build a legacy out of it. Just to give people context, he was running it from home, turning over about $500,000. I took over the family business, and because of my track record, I thought this is going to be a piece of cake, And when I took over the family business, I went through my darkest days. I took over the family business. The business was struggling, to be honest with you. And at the same time, I get diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. So I literally woke up one day, and even though I was into health and fitness, I always took care of myself. My friends were out partying and drinking, everything like that. I was the person that was always working hard because that was my upbringing. Not partying, not drinking, working out like crazy, because I was obsessed about it. And then getting diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, where one day I woke up and I couldn't even, I had joint pain in my neck. And for those of you who understand how chronic rheumatoid arthritis can be, there was days where, my wife or my sisters would tell you that I couldn't even use the bathroom properly. There was days where I was using a walking stick, and I was 20-something years of age. And at one point I was flying in my life. And another point, I couldn't even use the bathroom on my own. You can imagine how I felt, right? Wow. Family business was struggling. So that's when I realized at a very early age, you can't just take care of your wealth. You have to take care of your health at the same time. And I was desperate, to be honest with you. And I think it reminds me of the quote that Tony Robbins always says, you take massive action in your life because of desperation or inspiration. For example, sometimes people only take action in terms of their health when the doctor says, hey, you're about to be diagnosed with cancer. That's when people decide to, hey, you know what? My job is not the most important thing. Right now, I've really got to make sure that I dial in on my, what I'm eating and everything like that. All of a sudden happens. Anyways, I got to that point of my life. And at that time, to be honest with you, I was a victim. Mentally, I felt sorry for myself. I was like, why me? I'm 20-something years of age. I was successful before. What happened? I'm struggling in the family business. I'm working out. My friends are drinking, and I get diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. Anyways, long story short, I went down some very deep rabbit holes, mentally, emotionally, and everything like that. And I got to breaking point. I got to a point where I decided that, I can stop feeling sorry for myself, and I had to do something about it. So I started to invest in my, I said, the only way that I can get through this is, I was on a lot of medication, to be honest with you. And I thought to myself, the only way that I can get through this is mentally, it's the only way that I want to be able to get through this. So, and then what happened was I went down the journey of personal growth, personal development. I got involved, if you guys know, Anthony Robbins. I went from one seminar, and eventually I went and I attended all of his seminars. And then I joined one of his programs, which is the highest level of he's got a program that's called Platinum Partners, where you spend a ton of money with him and you get to travel 4 times a year with him, and a very private group. Yes, you pay for it. You pay a fortune for it, My dad would kill me today if he realized how much I spent on my own personal development. But, and then what happened, like there was the defining moment for me, and I'm going to get into why the 5 element evolved for us was I was at one of these events with, with a very small intimate group at a Tony Robbins event, like a private coaching event, one of the 4 events, and one of my friends, part of my peer group, and one of the things that I learned being a part of this group was who you hang around with is who you become. And there was this one moment where a friend of mine said to me, look, Steven, you've got 2 choices right now. You can accept your rheumatoid arthritis, keep taking the drugs, and take it and accept it for what it is, and take it like a death sentence. Because one of the things that was happening for me was I was taking so much medication that my specialist, my rheumatologist would say, Steven, once a month you would have to go and get a blood test. And I'm like, why am I getting a blood test for? And he's like, because we want to make sure that your liver doesn't, the drugs, if they, if they affect your liver so much, it could kill you. And I said, so you want me to take a drug and potentially it's going to kill me? So in my head, I was like, this is like a Band-Aid. That's what it is. So I wouldn't tolerate that. Anyways, long story short, a friend of mine, part of this Tony Robbins group, this coaching mastermind group, said to me, look, Steven, take it as a death sentence, or you decide that you're going to do something about it. And it was that, just sometimes it's that one thing that someone says to you that gives you like that mental shift. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to figure this out. And so that's when I decided that, I decided that I'm going to stop blocking my blessings, Nick. And then I decided that, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to try and figure this out. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And that was when I started to get involved in looking at my nutrition, getting dialed in terms of my, what I'm doing and how I'm working out. In terms of I started to look for coaches, and then I started to surround myself with a community. And this is how kind of the 5 elements started to evolve, And so what happened was, long story short, I started to, it just made sense when I started to you take care of your mind, you take care of your body, you start to feed your body with nutrition. I had a belief, Nick. My belief was my body can cure cancer if it wants to. That was my belief. And when I made that decision, things started to evolve, When you start to take massive action, and you start to get some result, it starts to strengthen your belief. And then you start to repeat that cycle over and over and over again. And that's the reason why the rich get richer and the poor gets poorer, And then all of a sudden, when I started to follow different modalities, which is really how the 5 element evolved, and that's when things started to change for me. All of a sudden, I started to become mobile again, and I started to slowly, and I don't recommend this to anyone, by the way, a huge disclaimer, don't do this, right? But I felt so amazing, and I felt so good that I started to weave myself off my medication. And one day I saw my specialist, and he said, so how much of the dosage have you been taking? And I went from once every day to once a month, and I was mobile again. I could move, I could actually go for a run. And that's when I went for a run one day with my dad, and he was like, I can't even believe your journey so far. How did this happen? And so I started to teach. And so, so Nick, you asked me before about what is our framework for success on how we help hundreds of people transform their bodies every single month. And it's something that we call the 5 elements, which is, we teach people that you need to, 1, take care of the food that you're putting in your mouth. Number 2, you need to make sure you have some sort of fitness plan in place. Number 3, you've got to have a coach. You can't keep yourself accountable. Number 3 is making sure that you have tools and supplementation. Number 4 is making sure that you have a personal coach. And number 5 is making sure that you have a community, because who you hang around is who you become. And for us, that has been the framework for us in terms of what we believe. If you want to have control of your body, you need to go and do something like that, And, for those of you that I get a chance to show my father's journey, but, my dad's 63 years of age, and his body fat is less than 12% just by applying these 5 elements, so.
And your father's journey is amazing. And it was definitely his story. And I remember when you told me his story, and I definitely, having you on another time to go down that road, because we can go deeper. And your story is so amazing. This is only, guys, for people that haven't heard Steven's story, 1, get in touch with him, okay, to listen to it, hear it. I'm telling you, it's worth it. but two, this is the cellophane level. Okay, we're not getting deep into it, and it's amazing. Okay, where he came from to where he brought himself, and exactly what he said, helping and changing hundreds of thousands of people. Okay, in their daily active life. And you said, there's a couple of things you said, and I want to touch base on, but not too much. But I'll just some things, amazing things that I took notes on. Um, the your worst enemy, and something that becomes your worst enemy can become your best friend, or what some people call as the driver to their mojo. Okay, Steven, what is your mojo? What gets you up in the morning? What gets you out and then drives you to be the guy that everyone looks to in the organization?
That's a very good question, Nick. um, I would say that I haven't actually ever thought about that, but I would say that maybe for me, like the mindset shift was, Nick. One of the things that I did was I left the family business and I decided that like I wanted to pursue. Well, my number one goal was to be a full time dad. That was my number one goal, not a full time dad, but to be a present father. So I've got a daughter that's 17-month old. Like that's our first child, and so that was the number one driver for me. But like the second thing was me. The reason why I pursued this industry was like I realized that it like my what I felt like when I felt like what happened to me. I guess I felt like it's been a blessing in disguise for me, and it's really a part of my calling, to be honest with you. Like I honestly feel like the universe gives you what you can handle, if you're prepared to not settle. And I feel like my journey so far is just an example for other people. That's what it is. And I feel like the thing that gets me out of bed is like me being able to go out there and now like live my purpose, which is to go out there and teach people that you can have control over your health. Like I started from the ground, and with challenges. So yeah, I would say that like just I would say that like yeah, like the purpose of like passion, definitely being passionate about the industry and helping people find a breakthrough. To be honest with you, like I had a breakthrough in my life, and really that's just about me sharing it right now. So it's probably the thing that gets me out of bed, to do what I do. So
Yeah, and you're very good at what you do, and I mean, like it's shown on how hard and how many people follow you and look to you of how amazing you are. Okay, and you've been in some low places, and you have no problem talking about that. But when you're in that low place that drives you out, and you hit at one point and said someone told you that something that resonated with you, it's either going to define you or it's going to change you, right? It's based along those lines, and you're your lowest moment, and I'm sure everyone has them, and I'm sure you may have them, day in and day out. Do you have a mantra or something that drives you that you say to yourself, or something that you maybe meditate to that helps you to get out of that rut, to just push yourself a little bit further?
yeah, sure, definitely. And believe me, like I've had my peaks and I've had some of my worstest valleys. Believe me, So I would say that look, I maybe I think one of my daily practices or my morning rituals that's really served me, Nick, is just being just something really simple as like like waking up and thinking to myself every single day, like what's three things I can be grateful for today. And just like like and that like just by doing a simple practice like that, like thinking about that. Because one thing that I've learned like from like the godfather of like personal development, Jim Rohn, he's like weeds grow automatically. You don't have to plant them; they'll grow in your garden. So the number one thing you can do when you wake up first thing in the morning, because weeds are coming, is to stand guard of your mind. And the best way to do that is to trade like expectations or fear for appreciation. So I think about, so for example, Nick, I would think like I'm grateful that my daughter is growing healthily and is clever, for example. And someone cuts me off in like whilst I'm driving, or whether I'm having one of those days, like you said, I'm going through one of those valleys, because of anxiety or because of anything like that. And I have those days. It like like my gratitude aligns me, it centers me, to say, hey, it's okay, you know what I mean? Like, relax, you found it, it's all right,
That,
So
and you want to know what you hit such that line that you just said. I don't know if you even know, for everybody that watches kind of regularly, I pick up on little things that people say in passing, and they resonate with me pretty quickly. And one line that you just said there, Steven, could literally be the mantra for this show Tuesday night, every night, and it's stand guard at your mind. And that is such an amazing thing that you said, because you really do have to. I mean, if you let your mind do its own thing, okay, or let other, things come in, and you're not kind of weeding off and keeping up the negatives, it can get away from itself quickly, okay, which can drive you down. And that's really what this is all about, Tuesday nights, is making sure that, strategies, which may not be the strategies that I use, but the strategies that you use, or Coach Dan or Coach Kat use, are something else that we could all learn from. Now, everyone has something that, like, is their go-to kind of relax and hobby, their mental health strive. Dan makes fun of me because mine's Call of Duty, so I don't mind saying that. Okay, so Dan's going to give me a hard time for it, I'm sure. But yes, I play Call of Duty. It's my release from my mind. Do you have something like that, Steve, that you can, like, do you have that just kind of a release that can, get away? Because, and maybe it's a double-edged sword with, like, your best friend, your worst enemy, because you do live close to your family, and you are very close to your family. Okay. Do you have something that you have that can release you from everything that's stress?
yeah, my coach, like, one of the things that I have a coach that I speak to weekly, because I think it's very important to have that. And he's like to me, like, one of the pillars of success is play, and he always asks me this question, is like, what do you do for play, Steve? Which means where, like, there's no restriction on time and it feels effortless. And to be honest with you, Nick, probably the only thing that I do, and my wife thinks I'm crazy because it's not her definition of play, but, like, apart from spending my time with my family, which is the obvious thing, I don't know, like, for me, like, the most, like, alleviating thing is, like, even, like, just going outside, getting some sun and reading a book. Like, to me, that is considered like like that for me is like, yeah, like, yeah, apart from that, Nick, I can't think of anything else. I used to have some silly hobbies, such as, like, I had a boat, I had a jet ski, things like that. Like, but that was years back. Now for me, it's just, yeah, when I have time for myself, like, which I think is very important. Yeah, being able to go out to, like, get some sunlight, read a, that's my downtime. That's probably the only thing that I do in terms of my downtime. So I don't
Okay.
know or that if that's interesting or anything like that to the audience, but yeah, that's probably my.
It doesn't have to be interesting. It's truth. It's truthful. Then that's what it is. And I always, something that I always kind of preach, and I preach to people that are around me, are your 7 F's. Okay, and it's a kind of living a seven, just like your coach said, living a balanced, life of, having your 7 F's. Your friends, family, fun, firm, fitness, finances, and in that space, so you have a nice balance of spending time with your friends and your family, but you're working, and kind of separating those things. And it's something that I talk about, because I find, people ask me, like, Nick, how do you shut off? What is your shut off? And maybe it is, Call of Duty, locking myself in the office of playing Call of Duty for a little bit. That kind of resets my mind for a little while, or because if I don't, I'm one of those type of people that I'm like a light switch. As soon as the light's on in the morning, I'm on all day until the light switches off. There's no, if I don't create a sit down for myself, there's no sit down. It's move on to the next task. So that's it for me. We have 5 minutes, and I have one more question for you, and it's kind of around now for people that that don't know you, Stephen, you're rheumatoid arthritis. My grandmother had it, debilitating. Okay, unbelievable, painful. And you broke yourself out of that. Okay, through your healthy, active lifestyle and through your journey with the five elements. Okay, if you had someone that was in a state, whether it be mental or a mental block that they feel that they're in, or a physical ailment that they have, what would your advice to them be to push them out of their this block that they may have?
Yeah, sure. I would
Because
say,
there's a lot of people out there that get stuck in a rut, and they just, like you said, like either you're gonna make that rut who you are, or you're gonna get yourself past it. So what would you help? What would you say to someone to help them get out of that rut?
I would say one word, Nick. I would say is you need to decide, And so for me, it was really about, like, from my own personal experience, the only reason why I turned my experience with rheumatoid arthritis was, I decided that, I really decided, and deciding means you have to cut off, which means, like, if you want the island, you have to burn your boats. I decided that, you know what, Nick, I'm going to figure this out no matter what. I will until. That was the only, and especially when a good friend of mine said to him, look, Steven, accept it as a death sentence, keep taking those drugs, or you figure it out. You have two choices. And I had no other choice, Nick. I was like, I'm going to figure it out. That's it. And sometimes that decision turns your life around. That's the day that your life turns around. So I think, I think just deciding, and then sometimes you have to have blind faith. That's just the reality of it. You have to trust people, have some faith in people's expertise and leverage other people. Definitely. That's what I've done all my life, Nick. I haven't been, talented in creating anything. I've just, stood on the shoulders of giants. And so, I think having a personal coach, which is one of our elements, that's how you leverage, your time and your capabilities.
Yeah.
So,
I totally agree. And I've always said that to, people too, is like, and you said at one point, like, the money that you'd spend on, Tony Robbins and the things you've done for personal development. And I've always said to people, like, and someone that we had on a couple months back, Adam Scully, always says it to me. He goes, 10% of your income needs to be helping yourself get to the next level in professional development. Because if you just sit on the knowledge that you have, you're going to get to a plateau of knowledge that you don't have. And nothing but professional development is going to help you take it to the next level. So thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting on to 7:30. I want to be the one to get out of here by 7:30 because I keep getting it. Nick, you're not out of here by 7:30. We're doing it this week. It's 7:29. A couple last things. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? September 7th, the challenge starts. 6 days. If you have not gotten yourself together for this challenge, you have no time to waste. You need to talk to your coach. You need to get into it because you have basically 4 days. 4 days to get your stuff. You're gonna be late. Actually, it's probably like 2, and you're gonna be late for challenge. So if you want to get in now. Talk to your coach. Don't waste time. I got the banner, the bracelets here. I know it's gonna be hard because I got my lights on, but these ones glow in the dark. Okay, I'm not gonna turn the light off so you can see, but they glow in the dark blue. Really exciting for this one. Fits on your water bottle. See my water bottle here. Boom. Looks good on the water bottle, ladies and gentlemen. Let's make sure, if you want to get in this challenge, guys, make sure you're getting in soon. September 7th, 21-day challenge, Shred and Shed challenge. Guys, let's hear it for Steven. Thank you for coming and giving your journey. I'd love to have you on again. Thank you for that. And if you guys have questions, message Steven. He's in the group. He's a huge asset to our group. Businessman, father, husband, but overall gentleman. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
And we're going to kick it off here. Thank you, Steven.
All right. Thanks for having me.